guys, so where we left off was we were actually fighting cam bearings and getting them put in. And I know that you're probably going to say something about the pistons rods being in first and then the cam bearings, but once I got it squared away, the cam bearings went in just fine. So I'm going to show you and kind of talk to you a little bit about what happened. So I ordered these CH25s. They're wider than the ones that was in here and kind of hailed as the better ultimate replacement for it. So ordered them a long time ago and everything was fine. Now, where we run into some problems was that they necessarily wasn't going to fit inside the Moore. So what actually ended up happening was we tried to stick them in, and I don't know if you can tell, but they ballooned out on this one side and then we kind of tore it up on this side. Created a groove here. These were obviously, these weren't the right ones. So, and I even looked at the order and all this stuff as we were putting them in. Everything was supposed to line out fine and it just didn't. But these guys right here went in like hot butter. And CP10Ts, these are their higher performance versions, better for, you know, bigger cans with more load, stuff like that. Don't mind her. She's over there putting in a new windage tray in her F-body oil pan. Anyway, so the bearings I had to search for a little bit, I had to dig. I don't believe I should have, but that's neither here nor there. So I got those put in, the cams in, and we already put the cover on, but the box is that, where's the lid? Here, the lid, BTR camshaft, truck Norris, should do us pretty well. I figured I'd leave everything kind of truck related because the heads are off a truck, it's a truck engine. So I think the lower end torque is going to be a lot more fun to drive. With the auto, it should help out too. So anyway, that's the update on that stuff so far. I'll update you a little bit further along after she gets done putting the windage tray in. This is the piece here, actually, that would have saved my Trans Am. This is the original one here. As you can tell, it's going to be good for a stock F-body, but this one here, as the pickup sits down inside of here, you know, it's got the oil is going to be stuck and trapped to feed here, and it's going to be stuck down here versus sloshing over to one side or not. So versus sloshing left or right, it's going to be stuck down here. There's always going to be a supply of oil down here, especially for the kind of driving she's going to be doing. So we got the rear cover on. And we are ready to put the oil pan, the pickup tube, and all that stuff on. And get the bottom part completely done. So I'll pick that up and update you guys here shortly as to the end of that and how far along we get this evening. Alright guys, so engine looks a little bit different from the last time you've seen it. You probably, at the end of the last video, we kind of lost a little bit of footage, lost a little bit of time trying to fit things in, tried to get everything right, and this is just another problem that we ran into here. And I kind of wanted to bring it up to you. This is the Black Horse Racing Amazon Special F-body oil pan, except it has this extra low clearance spot right here. And actually it'd be extra high because it says like this. Anyway, when I go to put the oil pan on, everything should be lined up right, and I'm having a clearance issue right here. Back here, I'm squared up with where I need to be, but I'm hitting something right here. Not on that side, definitely it's on this side. So as I put the pickup on, I noticed that this bracket here had to be bent up a little bit and to get it to bolt down in and get down on the main stud, essentially. So here had to be bent up a little bit and then moved around, so it kind of tells me the windage tray for the truck isn't going to work. I'm not going to go and get a different one. I'm going to make this one work. So what's going to have to happen is I'm going to have to unbolt all these, take this back off, and cut out just the section of this windage tray. Now let me grab the camera. So you can see right here, you can tell right there that it's hitting right here, and also you can look and see that there is a finite gap in the pickup tube right there. It's like being pulled over, so that tells me that that right there is bad. So what I can do is just cut that little bit of the windage tray out, and that would leave me with ample space to push that back down. That'll get the pickup back down up against the oil pan there where it needs to be, and then I can bend this bracket right here to put this back to where it needs to go. So I kind of remember how I did that and what angle it needs to go to, so I'll go ahead and get on that and see what this looks like afterwards. Alright guys, so you can see I've got just a bolt in here for that, and I got a bolt in here for the oil pump pickup. Now that gap that I was talking about, that is gone, and I was able to bend this back down, but it still doesn't clear enough, so it actually introduced an entire new problem. So I got the oil pan on here, set it right down where it's supposed to go, no problem. Bolt holes somewhat line up, okay, and I'm still hitting on that area, and I found out what it is. I'm gonna drop this thing down so we can see what's actually going on here. Take this off. So as I come down in here now, I can see it's dark. I can see up in here, it's actually the windage tray hitting this lower section here, from here to, yeah, about from there to there. The windage tray is actually hitting the oil pan, and you see there's plenty of clearance up through there, but it's got to go. It is hitting. So yeah, so I noticed it when I took the oil pan off, and it had a little shiny spot on it. So on the windage tray right here, it's a little shiny spot. I'm like, what is going on there? And it's hitting right on this line. So I'm gonna measure, and then from here to there, that part of that windage tray is gonna have to come out. So more cutting to do, but we'll get her done. Alright, so because that was hitting this right here, I'm going to just come right across here, and we're going to have to omit this part of the windage tray just to make it happen. So alright, now I'm just going to take this over, grind this off just like I did before, and then clean all the shavings off again. Alright, so it's looking pretty good. It's not like the lawnmower blade sharp or anything. So now I got all the burrs gone. Now it's time to clean it back up. Alright guys, so windage tray on. Don't need to put the thing in there just yet. I know that it was hitting the windage tray. And look, good to go. That did the trick. A little gap over there. That will close down when we bolt it down. Not a problem. So it's coming together piece by piece. Now on to The heads. Finish those up. Alright guys, so I don't know where we left off, but I had, in a couple different shots ago, I had the heads on here. And I was trying to investigate a little bit as to why the studs or the head bolts weren't going all the way down. Well, figured it out. I did not clean out the head bolts as good, or the bolt holes for the heads, as good as I should have. So, pulled the heads off. Didn't want to lose the gaskets, so now I can take the gaskets off. But down inside there is just miles and miles of gunk and everything. And I've got factory head bolt here, the long one. It's all one we need. This thread pitch and course is hard to find a tap for, and it'd be like inexpensive. Otherwise, it's like super expensive. But you can actually make one out of an old existing head bolt. And what you have to do is you'll take your grinder, cut off wheel, or whatever, and you'll find where the actual thread starts, and right there is literally the only place you don't want to do this. So you find it, and then you just roll over to the other side here to about right here, and then you just come up here with it all the way up. And you're going to kind of want to make it a little thicker, so this might not work very well. An actual grinder works, so we'll put it in the vise and cut this in. And then when you thread this in, it'll fill that little gap up. And then you just run it down until the gap gets full, back it out, clean it off, put it back in. And then it'll clean the threads out for you, and you ain't got to spend a whole bunch of money. So I know this is going to cause stuff to get dirty that really don't need to be getting that dirty, but this is the boat that we're in now. So I'll get this cut up and made, and over here on the vise, and you guys can watch and see how I make it. Some people will put like a little like a curve in it. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go straight down it, or as straight down as I can. Alright, so don't mind the mess over here on the counter, but I want to, you're not going to be able to see me totally, but I want you to see what I got going on here. So I'm going to find where the thread starts. I'm going to walk it back to where there's no starting thread. And actually I'm going to set it in there about like that. Crank it down a little bit and get my battery for this guy. And then, like I said, I'm just going to cut a groove in that and give us enough space to put some dirt in out of the bolt holes. Alright, so our bolt's in, locked in, and now I'm going to start to cut. It's still not as wide as I would like it to be. We're gonna up the ante on tools. I got a good line now, so. Alright, so I'm just gonna take a little bit of PB Blaster and stick in each one of these holes. Not a lot. So yeah, you can see that there's stuff all inside there. And that's just metal. That's just rust and metal and stuff down in there. And the bolts bound up on it, so we were having a hard time getting the head bolt started actually. So this is going to help this out. So I'm going to run through the rest of them and we'll go from there. Alright guys, so that worked like a charm. My concern was that the head bolts were going in kind of tight. Now I've kind of deduced that it's, don't want to say it's a common thing that they're going in so tight, but I've ran a couple in without the gasket and without the head, and it seems to be going down a little bit better now. So now, since we got this one done, I'm going to go ahead and roll this over without it going too far and put this head on. Alright. Follow the gasket instructions. Says front. Nice gasket. Lock it down on the dowels. All the holes line up. Waterways line up. Everything's blocked off. It needs to be blocked off. We're good to go. Now, take our 823 LQ9 heads, square port heads. Set them right on there, just like that. And before we get too carried away, stick a bolt in it or two. Just use the supplied bolt lube, not too much. Just to get one started, so this thing don't flop off the stand and the head don't meet the ground. The dowels will keep the bottom ones in, but get them all started. The way these bolts work and the way they torque and everything, you have to use the lube with them. At a very bare minimum, it needs like oil with them, but use this stuff. So you guys seen head studs and head bolts before, so I'm just gonna skip on to the next thing right after this. Alright, so I got all the bolts hand tight down into here, and she's gonna go ahead and start torquing everything down. She's got her instructions. We had to use the smallest extension I have, so we're gonna compensate with that just a little bit. It's actually not that much at these yield points. So she's gonna go ahead and torque this down. I'm gonna go ahead and clean this side out and be ready for her to put the next head on. Alright guys, so heads are all double checked and torqued, good to go there. We just put a new gasket under the valley cover, and make sure I'm not zoomed in. Excellent. And we're putting in the sensors, we're getting the plate down. Zigzag. Come out here to this one, because it's definitely doing that now. And we got a new sensor here in, and we're just torquing this down, and then after this we will put the push rods in and the rockers on, valve covers on. I mean, it's kind of coming together pretty quick, so everything else seems to be sailing through. Front cover on, so you guys hang tight and we'll be putting this stuff back on.